Hello and welcome to Super Nerds UK, your source for all things pop culture. My name's Tim. We were very lucky to be invited to the Warriors UK Conclave just the other week, and we really enjoyed it. We got to meet a lot of the cast that were there, which you can see on screen now who were there, and we got to interview some of you who went to the show, and we interviewed the organiser, Vic Wright, who put the whole thing together. It was amazing. We also got to film a lot of the Q&A session, so here it is without further ado. Enjoy.
I hope you all had a very good day. I'm joined with Michael Back, who played Swan, and Brian Tyler, who played Snow. So I want to give a good warm welcome to everyone here, please. Thank you. So we've all given a chance to ask you questions, so please feel free and I'll come over. Try not to run. And currently, you're more welcome to ask you questions. Okay. So, welcome to the UK, guys. How are you?
Good. We're fine.
We're back.
We're fine. We're thrilled to be here. We thank all of you for coming out to see us. It's always amazing to see the number of people, really, all across the world who love this picture. We have little or no idea when we made this movie that it would have the kind of lasting effect. So we thank all of you for coming out to see us. And we're here to answer the questions that you have that we're able to answer, or willing to answer. So
Yes, so it's your first time, isn't it, Brian?
Yes, this is my first time in England, so thank you, because I'm definitely coming back. For the sheer fact that, again, the crowd, that's our invite, so thank you.
Yeah, so Michael's been here many times before. He trained in London at the drama
Central School
Speech, yes. So he's very connected to Britain, and it's great to have these guys here. So, guys, the Warriors is such a massive phenomenon. Do you think it would have been it would have been this big?
Well, when we made it? No, I mean, I don't know that. Did Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman know that they were going to have a cult classic when they made Casablanca? Probably not. They were just working and making a movie, so we had no idea. I mean, and most of us were, for many, it was their very first film. For a couple of others of us, it was like our second film. So we were fairly new at filmmaking. So, I don't think anyone, including Walter Hill or Larry Gordon, the producer, had an idea that this movie would become the beloved kind of cult classic movie that it's become.
Oh, most definitely. There's no way, in my opinion, I don't think you could make this now. It's just not possible. Back then, it was the streets of New York are completely different. And tell us about that, how it was filming, Brian. How was that filming in the streets?
Well, in the late 70s in New York, it was a much different city, much tougher. We did have problems with actual gangs when we did the movie. We somehow smoothed things out. It all worked out well. But yeah, much different time then. And it's like many other occupations. When you have a group of people that come in to do the best job that they can and are professionals like Michael, certainly. It was my first movie. I had done off-Broadway stage. And these guys were, at the time, my mentors, because I'd never done that before. But we all did the best job we could, and thank God it's become what it has. Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. It's incredible. So in the streets then, when you're running around, you've got these actual gangs. I hear you had some protection to start, you were told which streets not to go to, just save yourself from being beaten up, basically. So, you can't be having that problem when you're acting. Yeah. So, I hear that some gang was asked to look after cars. Is that true? A gang?
Yes.
You said like a gang asked to come in to protect you.
Well, no, we didn't have an actual gang protect us, but we had some rather large, muscular gentlemen who I think probably were police officers or ex-military, or they knew what they were doing, so, and they were kind of on the set. But the incidents that we had with with actual street gangs were not many. I think they have become mythology over the years, you know. But we did actually, the thing I remember most, we went, I think it was to a location in the Bronx one night, and all that was going to be shot on that location was just a walk by, you know, the warriors walking down this street. And the reason that Walter Hill chose this particular location was because on both sides of the street there were derelict, burned out buildings. They had no glass in the windows. Some had no window frames. It kind of looked like Dresden after World War II. It was just completely a bombed out area of the Bronx. And all we were going to do is just walk down the street because they wanted that kind of image. And, you know, so we start shooting after dark. So it gets to be 9 or 10 o'clock at night when it actually gets dark in the middle of the summer in New York. And they wet the streets down, and we finally are set to do this shot of just us walking down the street, and then they're going to pack up and go to another location. And as soon as Walter Hill called action, all of those empty windows in this derelict buildings filled up with all these kids, these street gangs, who started yelling obscenities and stuff at us. So we didn't get to shoot that location. We just packed up, the circus went somewhere else. But that was an incident where those actual street, it was their turf, and obviously the location manager had not passed around enough green stuff, so they weren't going to let us shoot that night, and we didn't. So, you know, it was that kind of incident, as opposed to us being threatened in any way.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Terry.
Still got the big one.
So tell us, how was it for you?
That's a broad question. You mean about the Warriors?
Yeah, about the Warriors.
Well, first of all, we're all really close. And after that many years, 40 years, that's difficult to do when you come out of films. You can ask a lot of these guys. We're very close friends, and when we get together, it's the Warriors. We just our families know each other, and it's a good thing. Actually, making the film, it was my first film. Didn't really know much about it. I just was glad I had an acting job. You know, when you're an actor, when you're working, you're on vacation. When you're not working, you feel like you're working. No one gets that.
Bird, shut up.
Sit down. One thing you've got to learn, we're all still in shape. You don't want to be publicly embarrassed. Anyway, the film was great, but it was long, it was grueling. We ran multiple times. You saw the final cut, but those scenes were cut many times. I don't know if Michael or Brian told you, but they cast actors that they felt physically could handle the gruelingness of the schedule. And, you know, the years later, I think I can say, is when I've appreciated how much I love the Warriors and all that we've done. Because doing it, I mean, we got along all well, but we were busy. We were young, and it's more refined now. It's great, and we love seeing all the music streaming.
Yes. So in 2015, you had the reunion at Coney Island, I believe. So, Michael, what was that like for you being all guests again, the fans?
Well, in 2015, when we first had a reunion in Coney Island, we had a reunion back, 2009, that Netflix and Alamo Drafthouse Cinema put on. But it was different, but it did culminate at Coney Island. So this wasn't the first time, but this was a phenomenal event, and I see faces back there of people who were there for that event. like 7,000 to 8,000 people showed up on a really hot September day. It was a one-day deal, which I think for all of us really humbled us to think that many people on one day would come, to just see us. It was really pretty amazing. It was an awesome event. We tried to recreate it the next year, and you just can't mine the same hole over and over. You need to give it some time for things. So the second year was not as successful in a lot of ways, but that first year was really pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, because Brian, you were telling me last night about how you appreciate the people coming to see you, and they actually bought you figurines and things, like the Lego figurines.
Yeah, I had a gentleman, again, we're amazed that there are people here that came to New York just to see us. We're seeing people from all around the world. Australia, we're talking some serious flight time just to get to New York to see us. And there was a gentleman from England, I don't know if he's here, who, there's never been a snow figurine made. This gentleman, by hand, made this figurine and gave it to me at Coney Island last year. I was astounded. So it was, you guys, if it weren't for you, we would not be here. So again, thank you.
Well, Stephanie, so when did you actually realise how big the Warriors was?
2009, at that Draft House event, yeah.
For me, the first time I had any inkling that the Warriors was becoming a cult classic movie was in the early to mid-'80s, somewhere around 83 or 84. I had a friend who had gone to Paris, and when he came back, he said, "You're not going to believe this. I was in Paris, and they were having midnight showings of the Warriors, and lining the streets to get in, that queued up, were people dressed up as the characters." So I thought, gosh, well, there's something going on here. But for me, when I really knew, my oldest child is 34 now. When he was probably 14, so 20 years ago, he came home with a couple of his friends after school, and one of his buddies walked in who had not been to our house before. A lot of those kids grew up in our house. It was that kind of house, with this new kid in the clique came in, and he walked in and he dropped the F-bomb. Fuck! You're scoring the Warriors! And I thought, what if a 14-year-old knows that and drops the F-bomb in front of my wife? He's a kind of crazy kid to do that. But I knew that, you think, how do they know about, how does this generation even know about this movie? And yet, uncles and dads and moms, they, sometimes take their 5-year-olds and let them watch it. But yeah, it's sometimes, then, kind of that 80s, mid-80s, I had an inkling that something was going on there. How about you, Jim?
Trying to think. I think when I started working in the news, and all these young camera people and technicians, they're like shaking and nervous when they were around me. And I said, "What's this? I can't believe it." There was all this kind of quiet talk that this guy was in the Warriors. And I didn't even know anything about what went on with the Warriors. And I said, "Well, how did you know about it?" They said, "Are you kidding me? We would hang out and go in pitch dark rooms and all dress up like we were one of the Warriors. And I was Vernon like you, and this guy was Swan, and they would have these parties when HBO started coming out in the late 70s, early 80s, and it seemed to have gone underground and built this following that I knew nothing about. I was just raising a family. And just to the point about a lot of women.
How did we get on that point?
I'm Vernon.
Boy, this is a segue, man.
How did I get with the Lizzies and you didn't? I used my brain. So anyway, a lot of women and young girls like this movie, and I've always, wondered. I mean, they intensely like it. I'm not exactly sure why, but I keep thinking, would that happen if they tried to remake it now, and I don't think it would because we were fighting in a way that they could relate to. But now there'd be blood everywhere, they'd be blowing people's heads off. It would be a different type of gang, and I don't think it would appeal the way it did when guys just got down and fought. And I think that in the idea of trying to recreate it, and they may, because nobody can think of anything. How many times has Grease been done on Broadway, or Why Thrill It? Like 6 now, and they can't come up with anything. But I don't think they would be able to make what happened happen at that time and that place. Just my own feeling. But anyway, we really appreciate that.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it would work nowadays. But what about the film? Speak to people, Terry. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I came as a fake New Yorker, I mean, these real New York guys like Dorsey and Brian. I don't know, Michael came from the Midwest, but he had a New York background. I just, everybody said that what speaks to people is they brought them into the world of New York City at a time when it was real hard and wild, and they'd never been there, so they got to kind of come into this world. I think also, and I don't want to wax philosophical too much, but Dorsey was talking last night, we were having a conversation, and he said, I think what made the Warriors appealing way ahead of its time was that they had this multiracial group that got along, hung out, no one got into the race issue, and he said the gangs would never be that way in the 70s. He said there would never be multiracial groups. It was all racial, broken down by that. And he said, I think people just felt like, you know what, I don't have to get into politically correct stuff. I'm just watching a bunch of people that I like, and they're fighting for their lives, and they're doing it together side by side, and everyone can relate to that. So that's a theory. But you know what? I was an actor, and I was glad I had a job. Didn't think much about it.
Michael, what do you think?
Well, I think that one of the things that's appealing about that particular movie, and there are other movies that have that same theme, it's a really simple storyline. And I think it's something that we all relate to. Many times we relate to it because we have a nightmare about it. It's the innocently accused who are fleeing from everyone who is trying to destroy them to get back to a place of safety. And all people can relate to that. I mean, and on some level, and I think the simplicity of that is the theme that catches the audience that's watched it. Plus, like Terry was saying, visually it's a really ahead of its time kind of movie. You see a New York City with wet streets and no people on it. Well, I can tell you, 24/7, there's always people on the streets in New York. You don't walk down the street where there's nobody there, right? It's just, so it's, and I think, and it had a great soundtrack, but, it's a really old story that's just retold of, that lost patrol trying to get home, where all of the enemy is out together, and, and you're pulling for them. You're pulling for them to get home.
It's like someone said, I didn't say it, I heard someone say it. They said it had the same theme that Mike was talking about as The Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home.
Yeah, so we're going on about now the conclave at the beginning of the film. So we've got the Cyrus is called Winova, and that scene must have been quite difficult to film because you've got a hell of a lot of extras. I think it was 1,500 extras, and it's so much makeup. The scenes where they're running away. How was that, Terry, for you? Not Terry, sorry, Brian.
Again, there was an incredible production team that wrangled many people, and they did it very well. So that was one of the strong points that helped us do our job, is with every night, especially in Riverside Park, when we had thousands of extras. And a lot of these people who were there that night were not actors, and there were no problems. Do you remember any problems? I mean,
If there were, we weren't aware of it.
Yeah, if there were, we weren't aware of it, but it wasn't something that was really an issue. And There are parts of New York where you can walk out at night and there's nobody there. Well, Brooklyn, Queens, but not New York City, not Manhattan. So everywhere we were, there were people, whether you saw them or not.
I think one of the most interesting things about that Conclave scene that the first AD shared with me, a few weeks after we had shot that scene, because it took probably a week or better to shoot that entire scene, and they were finding in the dailies when Walter and Larry Gordon and the producers would look at the dailies, that over a couple of days, because people come in to be extras in a movie, and it's like fun. I've never done this before, and it's going to be kind of cool and glamorous, and it really isn't, because you're just, extras are the lowest person on the totem pole, so they're not treated great. They don't get as good food as the crew in the cast get. They get the stale sandwiches on the side, and it's kind of like the army. It's hurry up and wait, and you just are sitting there for hours doing nothing. And then, for a few minutes you're doing something, and then you're sitting for hours. So what happens is you do it one night, and you go, screw this, I'm not coming back. So what happened was they were seeing in the dailies that because there were African Americans, there were Hispanics, there were Caucasians, they were seeing that the complexion of the crowd was changing because not the same people were coming back. So what they did cleverly, or you said they were cleverly, they started raffling off television sets and things. So people got raffle tickets, but it was at the end of the week you were going to have that's when you knew whether you were going to take them on a TV set or something. So that more and more of the same people would at least show up, which I thought was really pretty interesting. But it really made sense, because my heart has always gone out to extras. I think, it's such a thankless job, and I know a lot of people do it who are non-actors, but they just want to be on a movie and see what it's like, and they find out that, gosh, this was really not as glamorous as I thought it was going to be.
I'm not sure anybody got a TV.
They were cheap, right?
And the other thing, they're standing around all day. I mean, they don't have trailers. We would go to trailers and we'd sleep if we had a long, race. And they're just standing there all day out there. So, a lot of the scenes just took a long time. The bathroom scene, 96 minutes, seconds of film maybe. Took us 2 weeks to film out. It could be, more or less, but and you just turn around, throw a punch. And when he was flipping people into the stalls, they had to pull out the back of the stall, get the camera in there so you could see it coming over. I mean, everything was tedious. The best part is when they took a wide shot, where we actually could just do the whole fight. But that was, not much of that bathroom scene. It was long, tedious, and tiring. When you see the final cut, and it became The Warriors, which brought all of you here, that's cool.
Oh, definitely, and in that film, you actually did your stunts, I believe, and in the bathroom scene, poor Deborah, I read that she actually got hurt most. Who? Deborah.
Yeah, she didn't get hurt in the bathroom scene. Deborah, I think the rest of us, other than maybe bumps and bruises, didn't get injured at all. But Deborah, good old Mercy, in the scene on the subway where the cop is running toward Swan and Mercy, and Swan takes a baseball bat and throws it and hits the cop in the shins. Well, that's, any of those fights or those kind of sequences are choreographed, kind of like a dance. So I had to take Deborah by the hand and push her back, and she had to hit specific marks on pieces of tape on the ground. She had to be on them because I'm not looking at her. I push her back, she gets on the thing, and I take the baseball bat back like this and throw it. So I push her back, knowing that Deborah's going to get on the marks. Well, she missed the marks. But I didn't look back to see where she was. I'm looking at the guy I'm going to throw the bat at. So when I swing the bat back and hit her right in the eyebrow, busted her eye open, she had to have sutures. So that's why Mercy, for the rest of the movie, halfway through, has this spit curl in the middle of her forehead that's spirit gummed to her eyes to cover up the sutures. She also in the sequence where the fox gets thrown under the train and they're running through down the subway platforms, coming down the stairs, she's running with a camera double instead of the fox, and she tripped and broke her arm. Hence, she then wears a blue coat to cover up the cast, not because, hey, cops are looking for somebody in a pink vest. No, I've got a cast on and we don't want anybody to know that I've got to wear it for the next 6 weeks. So she was a trooper. She got banged up pretty good in that movie.
Yeah, that's such a good answer, poor Deborah, that's what she can be say. But is there anyone who's got any questions you want to ask, guys? You didn't have to turn us all.
Thank you guys so much for coming. Just want to ask, what was your favourite scene you liked the most from the movie?
Bathroom scene for me. The bathroom scene for me.
Awesome.
Well, I really got to use my chops. As many of you know, I'm trained in martial arts, so that's where I got to really use it. So, and I didn't get hurt.
And you used it well. I enjoyed a lot of those scenes. I think my favorite action sequence was the Fury fight. From coming out of the subway station and seeing those guys in the street to running, the whole thing. And like Terry was saying, that was a sequence that probably took us at least 10 nights to shoot. But it was a really fun scene to do. I mean, I loved the fighting in it with the baseball bats and things like that. So that was my favorite action scene. My favorite scene to have been involved in was the scene with Swan and Mercy on the subway where the prom couple comes on. Because as an actor, you always love a scene where you communicate to an audience without using words. And that was a really powerful scene, I think, that did that. So that was my most fun scene to be involved in, just purely from a communicating point of view. How about you, Tim?
I guess with the Lizzies, because I was kissing girls all the time. Hey, when I went out that subway and I saw you, I thought, oh baby, throw it my way. Problem is, off the set, these guys were with the Lizzies, not me. Anyway, there was a lot of fun times. One of the most fun was during break. We would eat lunch at 1 o'clock in the morning, a.m. and 1 a.m. and they bring in chicken marsala and wine and stuff. We would eat like horses every day. I mean, it was fun. We were all drinking. But they ran us so hard, so much, and we were young. We still look lean and mean. I don't know what to tell you. But it was very nice being part of the film. As you know, or don't know, I almost wasn't in the film. They had brought 11 warriors to Paramount Pictures, potential warriors, and I think they were keeping 9. I may have the numbers wrong, but I know that they were measuring us and looking at us and matching us up. And then about 2 weeks later, my agent called and said they're not using me for the warriors, and I was really disappointed. I'd done Grease on Broadway, a similar thing had happened, and I got on it. So I went home, and it was a very long 3 or 4 months, and then the person who had not my role, but it would have been my role because we're very similar types, it got switched, was Tony Danza. But he got Taxi.
And so he left the Warriors, and then they called me back, but they made me audition again. What was that about? And they finally...
You're really going to ask me that?
and they finally cast me, so I was sort of an afterthought. But I do think that, you know, how this particular character and Vermin fit in with these guys was right. And I was very grateful for that.
We have another question here.
Hi guys. The film itself, I know that there were some changes along the way, so Vermin was in for longer than he was supposed to be, and Fox left a bit sooner. How much of the final film that we all love was pre-planned and pre-scripted, and how much of it was allowed to evolve once filming began?
Well, you know, for my character, the biggest change, everyone hear that question? You know, that there were changes that happened in the movie as we filmed it that were different from the scripts that we were shooting off of. And the biggest change that the Swan character went through in the original script, when we started shooting the movie, Swan's character was meant to be captured by a rival gang called the Dingoes and tortured, and then escape and hook up with the guys again, you know, for the final sequence on the beach with the rogues. The fox was supposed to end up with Mercy. So that's a big change, and what happened there, and in another Q&A, Tommy Waits will be able to address that, is that partway through the shooting, there was some, well, you know, there was some friction between Tom and the director and producer, and they finally just came to a place where they felt it would be better if Tom were no longer part of the movie. And Tom will openly address that to you guys, so that's not my story. And what had happened also, I think, is that they saw just in the dailies that there was a certain kind of chemistry between the Swan character and the Mercy character just in the exchanges that we had. So it became kind of a not that difficult a transition for Walter and Larry Gordon to go, we'll let the girl go with Swan. So that changed a lot of the character arc for you know, Swan. Swan was just a badass who fought. Now he's a badass who fights and gets the girl. So I mean, you know, that's a big change. so that was a huge, you know, change. But there were, you know, as in any kind of movie that's made, there are kind of organic things that happen during those 3 to 4 months that you're shooting that make sense in the shooting. And you go, yeah, this is going to make sense to do this. So it's true of pretty much any movie. But you know, we shot pretty much the whole script. Other than that kind of major change, there were, you know, little changes, but.
Ryan's always a gentleman, always has been.
He's Snow. Snow doesn't talk. Yeah. He's silent.
For me, the biggest change was the beginning. If you look at the beginning of the film, and you look at us in the graveyard, we're all trying to find who we are. I mean, James Remar had staked out what he was. Michael had staked out what he was. Snow was just big, strong, silent. But the rest of us, you know, Swan's war chief. Hey, wait a minute, big boy. We're all saying the lines the same way. There was nothing different. And I said, I'm not going to be able to compete with these characters. They're written with the lines that are too strong, too tough. So I said, I've got to do something here. And you've heard the story, maybe. I don't know if some of you are our age. There was an old cartoon called Hercules. Anybody remember Hercules? And they had this character that was half man and half horse, and he'd run around and say everything twice. He'd go, hey, Kirk, Kirk, in a high voice. So I said, I'm going to make Vermin, whenever he gets excited, say everything twice and talk in a high, squeaky voice and try to bring some humor into the film, which I did. I started coming up with lines and pulling things in. I had to be subtle because it wouldn't have fit. And Walter, I think, liked it and ran with it. My part expanded. I was supposed to be killed off somewhere in the film, I think in the original scripts. And so for me, that character sort of brought something to add to the film. There was this guy in the middle expressing the anxiety that everyone would feel that these guys are too cool to show it, and I just showed it. So that's pretty much a big change for me.
Hi guys, in your own minds, what happened to your characters after you walked your way back to Coney Island? Alright. Hi guys, what happened in your own minds to your characters once you walked your way back to Coney Island?
What happened?
What do you think happened to your character when you got back to Coney Island?
Yes, interesting question. The question was, what do you think happened to us after Coney Island? I became a social worker.
I think Swan and Mercy hitched out to California and became surfers.
I don't have an idea. I just wanted to get another acting job.
Great. So anybody else have a question? Okay, Tom, yeah, you really need to speak into the mic.
Hiya, nice to meet you all. I just wondered what you can remember about the actual casting process. Did you all do a general audition, or did you read specifically for specific parts?
I read for... This goes back to the Tony Danza thing. The character Cowboy was written, I think, and I think Tony got that role. They were going to have this big presence as Cowboy. So there were, this is just what I read a lot, you know, it was 1978. I mean, I'm trying to go back that far. But they weren't sure what to do with the role. Cowboy, Vermin, you know. And I know when I read, and they finally gave me the role, I remember Walter turned to Frank Marshall, who's a very well-known producer in Hollywood, and he was an associate producer on the film. And he said, so what do you want to do with it? Cowboy, Vermin, and Walter said, I don't know. He said, be Vermin. So that's how I got Vermin. So those two roles, and then Cowboy, I mean, he obviously was not like Tony or I, because he was small and tiny and his presence was different. So that's what I remember reading. The scenes I did read, though, were when I said, you know, where's your dudes? I had to read David's lines, because they put them all together. You know, where's those dudes? You guys like, you know, chicks like you always got dudes around. And of course, you know, hurt me was in there, and all that. And, that's what I remember.
For me, the casting process almost didn't happen because I trained in the UK. I'd gone to the Central School of Speech and Drama for 3 years in London and worked in various repertory companies around the UK for another 2 years. So I was 5 years here, kind of a classically trained British actor, if you like. And I never thought I was going to go back to the States. I loved being here, and so, you know, I started my professional career in the UK. But then I did a play a musical called The Jesse James Show, and I played Jesse James, and I thought, Jesse James is from Missouri. I grew up in Arkansas. Hell of a lot easier playing Jesse James than it is pretending to be British and then acting on top of it. So at that point, after 5 years of being here, I went back to New York. And the casting directors who cast the Warriors also cast a lot of theater in New York. And they knew me as a classically trained theater actor. And so my agents kept calling, because every actor of our age at the time was being seen for this movie that was going to shoot in New York called Warriors. And these casting directors would just tell my agents, no, he's not right for this. You know, he's this British thing. And I'm, you know, well, he's just an actor. But he could not get seen for the movie. So what happened was I had done an independent film the year before in Israel called Madman, and had played the titular role in that. And an actress called Sigourney Weaver was in that movie with me, and it was her first film. And Walter Hill was a producer and one of the writers of Alien. So they screened this movie called Madman that I had done and Sigourney had done, and to watch her, to see if she was someone that they could cast in the Alien movie. And Walter saw my performance in that and called up the casting agents and said, why have I not seen this Michael Beck guy? So then I finally got in to see them and, you know, and read for them, and that's how I got the part. But, you know, had he not screened that movie, there would be a different Swan, because I was not going to get seen for that movie. That's how it happened for me. How about you?
I was doing at the time off-Broadway production, and like many others, I was seen once or twice for the role of Snow. And I guess for me, it was the more traditional route to get the role. I was seen at first, and then I had to do some screen tests, and then ultimately I had to do some readings. And I was lucky enough to get it. And it just like, I don't know if a lot of you know this, but at the time I got the movie, I did not have an agent or a manager. And there was a manager who knew that a lot of people were being cast for this role, and she happened to know Dorsey. Now, a lot of you don't know this because we didn't know it. At the time we got the movie, Dorsey, Wright, and I lived in the same building in the Bronx. It was a very large building, but we actually did not know each other at the time until we did the movie. So it's not an urban myth. It's an urban truth.
Hi guys, I just wanted to ask all of your opinions on who would have won the fight between Swan and Ajax had it happened.
That's the third time I've been asked that today. It's obvious, and you guys would ask that question.
Does anybody else have a question?
Would there ever be a sequel to the Warriors movie?
No. Sequel? No.
Anybody else?
What do you think? Will there be a sequel?
I was just wondering, if for some god-awful reason some guys have decided to make a remake of a classic film, what would you tell them to make sure it can absolutely suck?
Don't do it.
Questions. We've got about 10 minutes left. Okay.
To sort of quickly answer this, a lot of you guys know this because I'm a film buff. If you don't make a remake within a certain amount of years with the same people, forget it.
There's a scene where Luther's on the phone reporting what happened to the meeting. I was just wondering who he was on the phone to, sort of thing.
Boy, I don't even know whether David Patrick Kelly could answer that question. But it was a pretty interesting person on the other end. You talk about a good actor. I mean, there's an actor that used his imagination. You know the bobble thing that's so iconic from that? I finally found out about a year ago from somebody who knows David Patrick Kelly really well, because David is such a method actor that we weren't on the set with him a lot prior to the final confrontation on the beach, because they just, you know, the rogues didn't, you know, other than the Conclave where, you know, he shoots Cyrus, we don't really run into them until the end, so they shot their scenes. But there were a couple of times that we were, at least they were on the same set, like during lunch or something at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, because they were being filmed that night. And he would not talk to, make eye contact, have any communication with any of us. He wore the hat the whole time. So, and he was really an intense kind of actor. So we first heard the clicking of the bottles when he did it. It was unscripted, it was an improvisation, and people have always wondered, where did that come from? And according, at least from this friend of David, that David had shared this with, there was an old guy in his neighborhood where he lived in the West Village who would stand up like on the fire escape, 2 floors up, whatever, and he would click bottles when he was loaded and rant at everybody who was in the street walking by. And being the good actor that David Patrick Kelly is, he just filed it away. He just put it in the file. And when, you know, his imagination took over and he brought that thing out, it's, you know, it's, when we walk down the street or whatever, I mean, you know, and people recognize us on the street, it's either come out to play or, you know, or the bottle. You know, it's a brilliant thing from a really brilliant actor. You know.
Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, you go. Oh, can you pass that back down to Ashley, please? Thank you.
Hello there. Can you remember much about the initial response to the film when it was first released at the cinemas in the States? And was the response any different in New York where it was filmed compared to other cities around the States?
I remember, was it David? I think it was David Harris, Michael, and I snuck in to one of the showings, and it was packed, and it was absolute chaos. I mean, not chaos where we felt afraid, but just that they were roaring at the fight scenes and screaming at the film and just loving it. And we looked at each other and Michael said, I hope they don't recognize me because I'm going to tell them I just look like someone.
They were talking to the screen, for sure.
And then, of course, you know, in Boston and California, the killings started happening. Whether it was directly related or an excuse, I don't know. But that's when the film shut down. I mean, we were like the top grossing film for a number of weeks or a month for that whole time coming out, and then it just, they pulled the promotions and it just dropped. But there was a greater plan, as you can see here. Paramount couldn't even start this film.
Yeah, I've often wondered, you know, had, you know, the adverse publicity that the movie got from a couple of incidents where rival factions actually went to see the movie at the same time, you know, and you know, we were having to answer, you know, press interviews. Do you think, you know, the Warriors caused this? And, you know, all I could say was, how could a movie that you've never seen cause somebody to put a gun in his pocket before he goes to see it? I think there's a predisposition to that prior to. But nonetheless, had this movie had the initial run that it could have had without any kind of controversy, would it have then become the beloved cult classic that people had to dig and find through videos and video games for a whole new generation? I don't know that it would have been, you know, had it, you know, been just a popular film that everybody saw when it first came out. It's an interesting kind of question to think about, you know.
I think we've got time for one more question. I'm really, oh, you do want to? Yeah, start again. Lady, sorry.
Hiya. There's so many amazing one-liners in the film. What's your favourite personal quote and the quote of the movie for you?
Start down the line. What do you think his favorite line? I think he greeted you with it.
Some things just don't change. I think of Vernon. I mean, I do think he has a lot of very memorable lines, so it's hard, you know, if you think about it, there's a lot of funny lines. I don't know what my favorite. A lot of people like, you know, which I've been telling all the people here today, how much longer we gotta wait? trains. And he says, Vermin, still not shut up. And I go, okay.
Well, Swan didn't talk a lot anyway. You know, there's not a whole lot of let's go, let's move. Probably my favorite line, I have to admit, is with the confrontation with the orphans. When Swan's just finally run to the end of his diplomatic skills and just simply looks at the guy and goes, "Fuck you."
I think one of the most romantic lines in the history of film is when Michael's walking with Mercy and there's a beat-up corsage on the ground and he gives it to her and she goes, "Why give me that?" And he goes, "I just don't like seeing things go to waste." That was a love affair story. However you pulled that off.
We're going in like everybody else. 9 guys, no weapons.
I want to give a big thank you to Michael, Terry and Ryan.
So the first question is how did UK Conclave come about?
I suppose it's a little bit of a long story really. Michael Beck came to Birmingham about 5 years ago. And obviously I'd always been a Warriors fan. I saw it in 1979 when it first came out. And when Michael Beck came, I'm a big comic collector as well, so I got my Warriors comics out and took them over to Michael and got Michael to sign them for me. And at the time it was going through my head, wouldn't it be great to bring the Warriors to the UK instead of always in America? And then when 2015 came and I saw the Coney Island expo that was going on, I got really excited and then realised that it was beyond my sort of capacity, I guess is the word to say, to go. So because of family and commitments with work, etc. So when 2016 came up, I had it in my mind that I needed to do something to bring the Warriors to the UK because everybody was talking about it, and you could tell many fans in Europe wanted to meet them, and it was never going to be possible because they would never get the opportunity, like I didn't in 2015, to go over to Coney. So I sent an email over to Michael Beck, and Michael Beck graciously emailed me back, and he basically said, yeah, let's do it. And so we got talking with the rest of the cast, and here we are today.
Well, it's been an absolutely brilliant event. What do you think about the turnout of the event? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, I'm really pleased. We've had people come from Australia, from Spain, from Italy, Sweden, obviously all over the UK. Yourselves from Liverpool, Glasgow. We've seen people from every part of the country today and all across Europe, which is fantastic.
Obviously we're talking about the UK Conclave now, what you do with the cons, you just want to tell us about the other cons that you do?
Yeah, I do comic cons. We're back at this venue again on the 29th of April for Birmingham Comic Con. Then we've got Derby Comic Con, we've got Swansea Horror Con, Liverpool Horror Con, Birmingham Horror Con. We bring in guests from all over the world, and we've got all your favourite stars, so just remember that.
How did you get involved in the con circuit, organising them?
I was just asked this question by Michael Beck. I'm a trader at the shows as well, I'm an author, so I take my books, etc. to the shows, and when I was at the shows there was many things that I used to look at and think, that could be done better if it was done like this, and that could be done better if it was done this way. And eventually in the end I decided, right, there's only one way to shut myself up with this and do it my way. And so I started with one of the comic cons, and that went really well, and we've just basically carried on from there. It's just gone on and on and done well.
Now they've been with the cast of the Warriors, what's it been like just having a social time with them and everything?
Fantastic. I've just had the best 3/4 of an hour probably in a long time. I haven't had a buzz like that since I met Stan Lee, and that was a real big buzz. I've just sat upstairs and had a beer and sat chatting and laughing and joking with the likes of Michael Beck, David Harris, Terence Smikoff, I've just had such great fun. Thomas Waits, Dorsey Wright. I've just been sat there with Conrad Sheehan, sat next to me, the guy was in the Wanderers as well as the Warriors.
Yeah.
This is, it was awesome.
Yeah. And have they enjoyed themselves here?
It certainly seems that way. I'd like them to obviously go on film and say that for themselves, but I've spoken to them just so far and I've said, you're enjoying yourselves, you're having a good time, is everything going in the right direction? And so far they've said yes, everything seems to, they seem to be buzzing basically. So.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much, Andy.
Yeah, more than
Thanks
welcome,
very much.
guys. Yeah, more than welcome.
What the hell is on your mind? This is New York. Basically, they told me there's an interracial gang, and they start naming the guys and showing me some pictures, and I'm going, I grew up in the South Bronx, G. That does not happen. So I basically called my agent and said, meh. But then again, I had to fix this car, so I think I'm gonna take the film. Then they told me Sidney Poitier's daughter would be in it, and I would have some interaction with her. I love women, what can I say? So I saw a picture of her, and it was like, I don't care what the hell I'm doing. Like, I did a kiss her, and I was like, man, there's a possible chance you can sign me up. So I signed up. Then I go to costumes, and I'm looking at guys, or drawings, of guys with painted faces and top hats. And so, it was a roller coaster. What the hell did I just get into? So as soon as it was over, who's gonna think there's a movie with an interracial gang, a bunch of clowns running around, some guys in electric jackets, some bald-headed guys that got a bus, God knows where they stole the bus from, and 9 idiots who don't have a common sense to hotwire a car. Okay? You watch the open of the film, I'm sitting there going, there's a whole gang that goes to a train station, and they're the baddest gang, I guess, in their area. But one of the idiots got a bag full of tokens, and he's actually paying as this gang goes to the turnstile. I'm sitting in the movie theater going, oh, I don't want my friends to see this movie. They are going to drag me to death. So yes, I thought this is a one and done. It's over. Nobody's going to believe this. And every year goes by, and hey, aren't you? Yeah. Hey, didn't you? And I'm just pulling out credits going, but did you see me? And I don't watch that movie. But what I saw you in was, and after a while, all your credits drop aside. They could care less what you did. You were in the greatest movie of all time. And I sit home in the dark going, what the hell did I just miss? This was not the greatest movie of all time. Quickly, it humbled me to make me understand. And excuse me, because I'm a rude, crude American New Yorker. It don't give a damn what I think about the movie. It don't mean crud. It's what you think about the movie. I can think it's garbage. I can think I did something as the greatest thing since sliced bread. If nobody pays to see, like the tree that falls, there you go. Nobody hears it. So no, I didn't think so, but I've been proved wrong about a whole lot of stuff. I've been married 3 times.
So, Tom, when did you realise it was actually this big? How big it was?
I was wrong once, but I think it was a mistake. I still don't get it. I was in Greece, on vacation in 2007. I was dating this girl, and we were walking around Mykonos, a very small island in Greece. And a guy stopped me and said, "Hey man, you're Fox in the Warriors. Give me 5 in Greece." And, I guess it was around then that it started to dawn on me that I was part of something much greater than I had ever thought it would be. And Dorsey's got a point, it really doesn't matter what I think or what the critics think. I mean, I remember when it came out, the critics had a lot of interesting things to say, like, once Thomas Waits died, the movie got less interesting. I like that critic. But I really, I feel that we have to tip our hat to Walter because he had a vision that he stuck by through a lot. I don't know if you have any idea what it's like to direct a major motion picture, but I don't, but it's tremendously stressful. And people are breathing down his neck from every imaginable angle, and he stuck with what he believed in. And I think that that perseverance is what prevails, and that the reason why you guys are so attracted by the movie is there's a spirit about it, a spirit of indomitability, you know, the indomitable American spirit, no offense, indomitable American spirit to get home. And I think that's largely due to the director.
Exactly. So, David, do you think that if the film was made now, do you think it would work? If it was made now?
No.
No, okay.
No. And that's for a variety of different reasons. First of all, you can't create the way New York City lived, was, and the feel, and the grittiness, and the funkiness, and all of that, what happened in the city almost 40 years ago. Times Square now looks like Disneyland. When we shot The Warriors, it didn't look like that. It was a whole slutty, kind of underground, kind of nasty, kind of funny, kind of I'll bite you in the ass kind of place. You know what I mean? The subways were like, get on here and I'll bite you on the ass. You know what I mean? That's all gone. You know what I mean? The Lower East Side, where all the great graffiti artists and the whole look of the subway, the look of the city, that's all gone. It's gone through regentrification. So, I mean, there was talk. A director, a very talented director named Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother, okay, was going to do a remake of The Warriors. He had something and he passed away. So it got shelved again. But my personal opinion is that you can't remake this film. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There are certain films that you don't touch, okay? I believe Warriors is one of them, okay? I think a remake of this movie would be a disaster. My personal opinion, you know, if you try and put the Warriors in 2020, what is it going to look like? What? I mean, leave it alone. I hope that it's never remade. You know, certain films are just made that you go, you know what, don't try to remake it. So many remakes are horrible. You guys are moviegoers. You've seen classical films that the remake and you go, you know, should have been done. And I just don't see them going back into New York City and shooting a 2020 version of The Warriors. I don't see, that's my opinion. Dawson, you got yours. Oh. I just like doing that for effect. Because they all look at me like, you're going to say something stupid. I see it coming. And I'm not going to disappoint you. I love to keep my audience riveted. Look, do I think or do I believe that it would be any good if they made it? I've been married 3 times, and I tell you all that. Okay, so going under that premise, if there is 10 cents or a penny to be made, we all know what's going to happen. That's the way Hollywood is. If they juggle the numbers, look at the bottom line and say, if we spend $5 million, we can make 25. They'll have 9 guys and a girl in a heartbeat and not give a darn what you think about it. It's going to be put up there on the screen. Because those bean counters are going to say, even if half of them don't like it, we'll make a profit. Saying that, could it be redone? You would need the right director, the right vision, the right cast. Really. No, I don't believe it can be set in any time zone or any real world. I'm talking about Escape from New York type stuff. It would have to be that. And they would have to do it so that it was palatable to you. You understand what I'm saying? It would have to come from that type of direction. If they said, this is the world in 2057, they'd have to get you to believe it. The only way they can get you to believe that, right script, right director, right actors. But never say, I understand what David's saying. I feel that way too. But never say they're going to take a movie that you thought was a very good movie and not turn it into a piece of crap. Because that's what Hollywood does for a living. You've already seen those movies where you went and went, they should have never remade this. Who are you? I don't care about you. Did you see the numbers we pulled on that film? Yeah, but it sucked. Sucked to you. By the time it got overseas, I go to Box Office Mojo, which is a site which lets me know. You spend X amount of money, look how many times they've redone King Kong. God forbid, you know they're going to do another one. They're going to do King Kong and Godzilla. They're going to do Mega Godzilla. They could care less. Because somewhere in the world, it makes money. The most you can do is, hey, if you hear about it and it's going to come up, try and put some input into it as fans. You may not think it doesn't work. Trust me, it does. Especially in Hollywood. If enough people write in and go, I see you're going to do this. God, hope you pick somebody who's decent. Hope you do whatever. They'll start listening because they know through the internet that will spread like a disease. So they're not going to try and put you down. They're going to try and adhere to it. But also understand, I know I'm talking worldwide, that overseas, and you are part of the overseas, that they'll look at this market and go, if it doesn't work in America, if we make a third of our profit there and make the rest overseas, we're going to shoot this. So it's not so much America that can go boo-hoo, because a lot of these movies that are coming out now are not making their money in the United States. You see United States total. It's like, oh, you almost made your money back. Worldwide distribution, 3 times the money.
Yeah, if I may, one thing, I don't really care if they make it again or not. It doesn't make any difference to me. It's not going to have any impact upon my life one way or the other. But something I don't think you know or are aware of is the fact that this was Walter's 3rd picture. And his most recent picture was called The Driver with Ryan O'Neal. And it tanked while we were shooting, which is why the pressure increased on him tremendously. It wasn't doing well, and it was a good movie, The Driver, if you've ever seen it, with Ryan O'Neal and Bruce Dern. Very interesting, psychological, fantastic car chase. I mean, great film, but it really hit the wall. So in Hollywood, you don't get that many chances. So he was under so much pressure. And I believe that failure is the mother of success. So that because this was an ostensible failure of The Driver, he had to bear down on the Warriors and insist that it become a success. He had to make it a success. And because he was a rather tenacious individual, he stuck with it, and that's why it was so successful. If someone else is in that position of hunger and drive and need, they could take the Warriors or any other project and probably have the same results. That's my 2 cents.
So, the thought, let you guys answer a question, ask a question, get there in the end. Pass that down to you, please.
Thank you so much, you guys, for coming. I never thought in my lifetime I'd meet any of you guys. Could I ask you, what was your favourite scene in the movie, please?
No, I know you guys are going to think this is a little funny, but I enjoyed being with the Liz. We'll break in the action. So obviously it's one of my favorite scenes, but I think my most favorite scene is the fight with the baseball field. semirize and that whole stylized thing, and I'll take that bat and shove it up your ass and turn you into a popsicle. So that was just amazing, amazing shot, amazing scene. And, you know, Tom?
Dorsey, what do you think?
Well, no, for me, it was, I can project. You heard me, stage actor, so you heard me without the microphone, because I project from the diaphragm, and I do not have to yell. Thank you. No, my favorite scene, believe it or not, was Cleon's death. I mean, other than the stuff that was pulled out, because I got to work with Pamela Poitier, the stuff that I liked of me was actually the death sequence, which I thought was amazing. First of all, I always wanted to do like a horror film or something. I always wanted to do like a fight scene, and it was like, here it is. Even though it looked like at times I was a real cripple doing it. But you know, hey, I enjoyed that because it meant something for the character to die in that film, if you know what I mean. It's like, okay, this isn't going to be one of those movies where everybody lives. And I died. And it was like, that's cool to me. Because then my friends all go, and you do too, did you really die in the movie? No, I'm standing right in front of you. The character died. But to me, that was one of the best scenes that I was. Other than that, once I was gone, that movie took off like a rocket. So, unlike you, it got better with
I loved Marcelino, the guy who played Rembrandt, and he's unfortunately no longer with us, and we're the lesser because of it. He was the sweetest boy, the kindest. I never heard a negative comment come out of the kid's mouth.
So you said that you played yourself in the game. What did you think of the backstory that was given to all of your characters?
I thought some of that, some parts, and I spoke to some people today. I spoke to some people today, a couple of guys. I don't know if they're, you. It's a disgusting human being back there. Beats up drunks. No, me and him, we had a discussion. He said, have you played the game? I played it like once, maybe twice. But what I didn't like about the game, in order to learn how to fight in the game, you beat up drunk, homeless men. Look at your face. That's how I felt. And I'm going, that's like really creepy. And what was the line you said they say? Something about the wine. Earn your wine.
Yeah, he says do it, Brew, do it for your booze.
Do it for your booze.
Yeah, you paid him £5, though.
Huh?
You paid him £5.
Yeah, okay. That part of the game tripped me out. But the game itself, it was somewhat harmless other than that. But that one point alone made me tell my son, you can't play this game. Because you're basically beating up homeless people to learn how to fight the rest of the game. So, and I didn't have to audition. They called me and said, real quick, I'm sitting at home, a girl that I knew calls me and says, because she got those game books, hey, they're doing the Warriors video game. And I'm sitting at home going, yeah. And I make me some money off of this. So I look and it's Rockstar. So I called Rockstar Canada, Rockstar LA, Rockstar New York. Say, hey, I'm Dorsey Wright, and the joke was that they had the picture. Why am I so damn ugly on the cartoon rendition of it? And I hung up. 20 minutes later, they called me back at home. I left my number. And they said, is this Dorsey Wright? And I'm like, who the hell is this? It's Rockstar. I'm like, oh shit. They said, so you're Dorsey Wright? If I send you some lines, if I send you some lines, could you read them back to us? I said, yeah, okay. So they sent me, the opening scene routine. And I read it back to the guy to call him back and read it. He's like, so, do you mind coming down to Rockstar in the village? I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll come down there. We're reading and reading. And then I had to tell the guy, look, I still got a job, man. So I can't be down here for like 4 or 5 days. I just give you like 1 day or 2 days, my day off, and we got to bust this out. The guy was like, it can't be done in 2 days. I don't think an engineer works there anymore. Because there's amazing stuff you can do when you got to go back to your job and they offer you that amount of money just to read this. Oh my man, it's going to be done in 2 days. But you want to get another damn job. I'm making this money and I'm going back. But I didn't get to see any of y'all. I missed y'all. But the game itself, y'all were playing it downstairs. What did y'all think? Of course you clap. Everybody else except you. See? There it is. There it is. That answered the whole thing. Ta-da. Next question.
Yeah, so we've got enough time for another 3 questions.
But I ate up their time. You can ask more than 3 questions. Oh, yeah, you can.
What happened to Ajax after when he went to jail?
After Ajax went to jail, he got 86. We don't know what he did in jail. He wanted to find some action, right? He wouldn't listen to the squad. So he found this action. Unfortunately, in the big house. That's all I get at.
He became a born-again Christian. No, listen, I have to go because I'm going to be playing in a little while, and I have to go get my head together for that. But listen, I want to thank you all so much for coming, and the guys will take over for me after this. Thank you so much.
What was it like working with Walter now?
Working with Walter? Yeah. I mean, what could a young actor want more? I mean, Walter's great. Walter's kind. Walter, he never yelled at us. He never lost his temper. He never bugged out like some directors will do. He was under, as Tom said, a tremendous amount of stress because his last movie kind of bombed. And, those lawyers, I call them the lawyers in Hollywood, the money people, you know what I mean, they'll say, you know what I mean, and, he never showed that to us. He was always like, okay guys, you gotta know, you already ran this scene 27 times, but you gotta run 28 times. We just gotta get it from a better angle. But he was a gem. He was, you had to say, well, I don't know if it's here in the UK, but who's your daddy? Walter was the captain of the ship.
It was like not happening, right? If you know what I mean. He was confident, he knew what he was doing. But it was just somebody telling you, hey, look, can we do it this way? Yeah, sure, let's do it that way. So I didn't look at him as a director. I looked at him as, hey, here's a guy from California who wants to put a film together. That's it, no pressure. None. There was no screaming, there was none of that. But on films where you knew who the director was, you knew who the second director was, you knew who was basically doing costume, because they let you know. Walter was the opposite of all of those people. I mean, you look at the crowd and go, where the hell's the director? This thick, bummy looking guy sitting there just looking at him. He gets up and says, can we try it this way? You go, yeah, okay. Okay guys, let's shoot. That was it. I hate that. I know you want to hear more, like he was, no he wasn't, man. He was just like you, just another dude, another bloke going, let's try and shoot this again, okay? And he sat down, that was it. What do you want, man?
Great.
Did you guys get to keep any of the original wardrobe, any of the clothing, any of the memorabilia stuff, or?
My story is ridiculous, so I'll let him go first.
Yeah, Walter was very, very gracious. He let us keep everything. He was very gracious. We wrapped, last scene, done, the movie's
Finish it. Can we keep this? It's yours. Okay, the necklace my son was teething. He chewed that up. The rag I had on my head, that was his, what do we call that? Something crazy my wife came up with. It was like his security blanket, so he would not let that go. So both of those were shredded to nothing. The sneakers, why would I even keep those? They were spray painted over very bad looking Converses. The pants, ain't no way in the world I was keeping those daggone pants. It's just not my style. I don't flow like that. Now the vest, I had a so-called friend who I'm not going to mention his name because I made a mistake in New Jersey and mentioned this guy's name. Yeah. And like 5 or 6 fans came up to me and said, "You want your vest back, man?" I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." They had his name, so they were ready to go check. I don't say his name no more. But I loaned him my vest. He's a fellow actor to go take some pictures in. By this time, the movie wasn't the way it is now. But it got some recognition. It was just starting to get there. So I loaned him my damn vest. And he never showed up again. He never brought my vest back. What can I say, good friend? I knew him for like 5 years. So he just basically broke up our friendship over a vest. I've never seen him after that. But if anybody's in New Jersey, happens to see a guy with a vest on, as my name is. No. But that's what happened to it. But there's a lot of costumes or wardrobes that you look at as nothing. You really can't see into the future and say, hey, this is going to be worth anything. It's just a job you did. Of course, 20 years later, you go, fuck. That's the way life is meant to be, man. I mean, hey, something you could have got here from us today, and we signed. God forbid something stupid happens. 10 years later, yeah, you know, you left it in storage, or your kid played with it. All of a sudden, cha-ching time, and you go, fuck. Now you know how I felt with my vest. You just sit there and go, it's the same way he felt about his damn vest. But you won't have a name unless you just look in the mirror, because that's that one up.
I'm really sorry, guys, but we're going to have to wrap it up. We've got time for one more question. One more, anyone? I ain't running over there.
Hustle.
This is the Dorsey. Why do you think Cleo went back to silence his body to look at him?
What? Sorry, what did he say?
Why do you think Cleo went back to where Silence was to look at his body? What was the reason? Why did he abandon his friends?
Maybe Cleo thought he was a hot looking dude. Why did he just run? Why did he actually have to go back to it? Because he wouldn't have. No, and he said, "Oh, stuck with us." You know, that was not a typical New York or brother man move. Normally it would be, he got shot. I'm over here. Bye. Well, I'm bye. Why did he go back? You never thought. That's like the best question, man. Because he was an idiot. I mean, really, he was an idiot. You're in somebody else's. I told he tells all his boys, run. What over your life? What are you gonna do? Boy eater. I'm gonna go over here and look at the dead body that just got shot. All the bad guys around there go, damn, that's like fucked up. He got shot. And then the bad guy go, what? I didn't do nothing. Yes, you did, you idiot. You stuck around and look at the corpse. Thank you.
How did you discover the Warriors film?
I first discovered the Warriors, my stepdad actually played it probably when I was about, I don't know, 11 or 12. And I just remember watching it and thinking, oh my god, this film is insane. And then years later, I went to HMV, like a record store, and I tried to buy The Warriors with loads of other different films, and it was the only one that was over 18. And unfortunately, they ID'd me and said, "Have you got any ID?" And I was like, "No, sorry." So I never actually got to watch it again for like years later until I was actually old enough to buy it. But yeah, that was the first time.
So what was it that you liked about The Warriors? What was it that attracted you to it, being such a fan of it?
I think because it's one of them films where you can relate to all the characters, and you can relate to, because I was talking to someone earlier about this, and I said, "Who's your favourite character?" And she was like, "Well, I don't really know. Like, I kind of you can gel with all of them. You know, it's like a family kind of thing." And because they're trying to find their way home and they're all innocent, it's like you've got these really cool bastards who they know who they are, but they've got nothing to prove. It's like they're like all heroes, and yeah, I really related to that. I think at the time I was going through a stage where I was like being bullied and stuff, so it kind of like it helped me through that a little bit. A bit like, yeah, you know, don't pick on me because
So, what do you think of the event today?
It's been great, been really great. It's one of the moments where like you feel calm, and then you go up to like meet the guys, and you think your heart starts pounding. It's like, this guy's my hero. It's like, wow. But no, it's been really good. It's been really good. Not as many people as I thought there'd be, but maybe obviously it's a weekend do, so people work on Saturdays. You probably might be busier tomorrow. I don't really know. But yeah, all in all, it's been great. In fact, they've been really friendly. All the guys have been really friendly.
Yeah, we spoke to a few of them, and they're really, really good guys, and really approachable. And
they are really approachable. You're right. Yeah. They're just exactly how you imagine them to be. You know.
What did you think of the panel? Did you go to the panel?
Yeah, I went to the panel. Yeah, that was packed. Wasn't it? We had to stand up for that. But no, it was really good. It was really good. The only one question I wanted to ask is, who is your favourite character? If you couldn't pick yourself, who would you? I would be really interested to know.
Maybe keep that one for the second panel.
Maybe, yeah, maybe I should.
Well, thanks for that, mate.
Yes, thank you very much.
So first question is, how did you discover the Warriors? How did you come across the Warriors?
My brother actually introduced it to me because he's a lot older than I am. It was actually through the video game first, and then we watched the movie. But yeah, it was through the video game. We've always had our PS2, so he introduced me to it first. Now I like it a lot more than he does, so I've dragged him here.
Oh right, you dragged him here. Yeah. So what is it that you like about the Warriors? What is it made you such a big fan?
The Warriors, for me, it has a lot of kind of personal things that it speaks to me, but like, you know, the whole thing about courage, thing about, you know, unity with the people you care about, and also kind of evidently favourite character being Conrad's character. Yeah. He's a very kind of unique human being. You know, he's not like the other gang members. You know, he has his roller skates. He doesn't talk. You know, he's very different, and I'm someone who strives to be different a lot. I don't like convention. I mean, probably this convention. I don't like convention in general. So, so it speaks to me on a really personal level.
And what was it like speaking with Conrad?
Oh my God, I love Conrad. Conrad is, he's the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. He's so humble. He gave me so much free stuff. Like, he didn't charge me for a selfie. He didn't charge me for autographs. I bought a picture, but then he gave me another one for free. And he hugged me, and he was just so nice. He's lovely. He's a lovely person.
What do you think of the event today?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was well worth the trip, in my opinion. It's great. It's great to see the diversity of people here as well. Yeah, there's a lot of different people, kind of all with the same interests. Everyone's really friendly. Everyone's really nice. I loved it. Yeah, great.
Well, that's it.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, how did you discover the Warriors?
It was about 1981, 82. My dad came home with a home video from the home video store. I was only about 9 or 10, but he said, "You like this? It's got a bit of fighting in it and whatever." And watched it that night. Absolutely loved it. Fell in love with it. Got it on video myself and watched it for the hundreds of times as a kid in the 80s. So much so actually that in the not 90s but early 2000s I actually went to New York and visited all the places at Riverside Park where the Conclave initial scene is with Cyrus. So I visited that, and it's almost as it was. Brilliant. 96th Street Station where the Baseball Furies came out. Went to visit that again, just as it is in the film. And a couple of the streets where the Baseball Furies are sort of running around. So yeah, well into it.
And
Coney Island as well. Sorry, went to Coney Island as well.
So what was it that you liked about the Warriors? What is it that stuck with you about the Warriors?
Just, I think just because it was like New York at that time, it was at night, and it's just a sort of that sort of 70s seedy New York, which I like a lot of films from that time. In fact, it was sort of gangs as well, and the fighting, obviously, to a young lad, it's sort of, enjoyed that. And I don't know, just good characters in it, and there's nothing as good as that to me. There's never been a film that's been as good that's captured that ever.
And what do you think of the event today?
Oh yeah, brilliant! Yeah, really, really good.
Sounds to them, Patrick.
With the photo shoot, and then obviously the meet and greet I've got later. So, but all of this as well has been good, and actually meeting them when getting a couple of signatures earlier, yeah, brilliant. I mean, I never thought I'd meet any of them, to be honest. So to meet them all in one day, just amazing. Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Thanks very much for that.
That's all right, no problem.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed that. We had a great time there. Thank you to everyone who got involved with the interviews and everything. I want to say a big thank you to Vic for letting us go around and filming the place and just being involved. And please watch this space for a lot more stuff like this. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.